Okay, so this is the tool that I was talking about for changing the valve seal. So it's like a C-clamp. It has two ends. One of them has the T-handle so you can kind of screw it down. And I guess this is the end that goes against the valve. It looks like it's got like a socket adapter, so that probably goes against these sockets. And this end is probably the one that goes against the valve. And you screw it together using these on the top of the spring, and that should get things going. But you can see I have the carb here. I figure might as well dig into the carb a little bit to change the jets, because I got to change the jets anyway. So if you're cleaning a carb, don't open anything other than the bottom. And see, I got this here, and I'm kind of over my tray just in case it spills gas, but it's been kind of open for a while. But I got these are different screws. The screws that come with it are little, I think they're like brass or something, but they're very easy to strip. So be careful. Here there's some sort of like a, not a Phillips, but like a J something screwdriver that's supposed to open that up. But I just got some Allen wrenches from Ace Hardware and replaced it with those. I'm not going to strip an Allen, so I figured that's a good replacement. I think some of the aftermarket kits will give you replacement screws, but kind of pricey for something you can get for less than $1 at Ace Hardware. Trying to find the right Allen, but there's a pilot jet, a main jet, a float under here, and I should probably replace my my float seal. I've got one, but I never could get that stupid pin out. There's like a hole punch or a spring-loaded punch that you can use to get those out, but I didn't have it at the time. It seems my luck that I cannot find the right size. Maybe it's a metric, which would be my luck because I only got standard on me at the moment. Okay, so I got these fellers and an 8mm wrench. You'll need a, let me tap this, 8mm, if you can see that. Oh, it's upside down. Let's do it like this. I'm not sure if you can see that, but 8mm. We'll need that here in a second. Let's see here. This bag says metric. I'm not sure if they're still organized as that, but we'll try. That's too big. Way too big. Let's get it out so I don't grab the same guy more than once. That's too big. It might be just right. You can always tell they have like usage lines on the bottom if it's something I've actually used before, so the common sizes will look pretty utilized, if that makes sense. That'll work, I think. But like I said, you just want to open the bottom. You don't want to open the top. The top has the slide on it, a spring, and there's like a little plastic gizmo there. There's a dowel. I'll wait till I can point at things, but on the bottom, you have the float, the jets, the emulsion tube, and there's a little thing that's under, a little brass, or not brass, but kind of a aluminum or steel, silver looking gizmo that goes on the top of the main jet behind the emulsion tube, so you gotta be careful not to drop that feller. I'm sure there's plenty of videos on YouTube already with going through the jets, but why not add one more to the pot? But yeah, so my advice is don't open the top unless you have to. There's a way to test whether your slide is working. I mean, you can stick your finger in there and kind of slide it up, and it should come down slowly. That's one test. Another thing you can do is get compressed air and blow into the front of the throat. See, I still have the air cleaner on this thing, so I don't really want to take it off. My Velocity Stack air cleaner. But, I'm gonna be careful here to not drop liquid. I think it's dry from just sitting. Okay, so that's pretty decent. But pilot jet's in this little hole. Hopefully you can see that. Main jet's on the top of this tube. So the 8mm will loosen this whole gizmo off, right? So that's a tube, but you just need a flathead to get the main jet off. In there, there's a pilot jet, which is just another flathead. So I'll get a small flathead. I think I already have one of my cheaper Chinese ones. But I think this will do it, especially for the pilot. So I just kind of spin until I feel it drop in and feel some resistance. Then pop it left. So he's loose. I'll probably have to spin it upside down to get him out or get a magnet. This is a little small for that, so I'll get a bigger screwdriver. Okay. So these are my stock jets. I actually bought bigger jets, but I was getting like a low throttle coughing that went away when I restored to my stock jets. I changed them both at the same time. So it might have been one, it might have been the other, but I wasn't too concerned at that point. So my pilot jet just fell out. So there's my pilot jet. It's got little, you know, it's a hollow tube with little side holes in it. And then here's my main jet, also covered in gasoline. And again, just a hollow tube. He does not have any side holes, but he's just a hollow tube. And they have a very precisely sized hole in the middle, which regulates how much gas goes in. And they tend to get clogged, so you could get a piece of wire and unclog those fillers. Okay, so there's my new jets. Get these fillers out. Set them on the side. So he goes in here. He'll go on the top here. I'm gonna start it with my fingers, I guess, if I can. Piece of junk. Okay, so he's in there. So there's a dyno jet aftermarket kit that some people will put on their bikes. I need that for a screwdriver, which will have different thread sizes. So if you find that it's not threading in, you might have an aftermarket emulsion tube. The pilot jet should always be pretty good, but the main jet, you might find that, hey, he's got different sized threads from what I took out, which means you probably have an aftermarket dyno jet emulsion tube in there, so which you can go to CV Performance and they have all the good stuff. So they'll be able to hook you up with aftermarket emulsion tube. And then you can get back to the stock setup. So you don't want to go super tight with these things because they are brass. And so that's pretty good. He's on there pretty good. So this is the floats. So this is kind of upside down, but you imagine he would be like this if the bowl was empty, and he floats up like a toilet bowl and closes the valve. Right there is the valve. So I should replace that, but I need to get this guy out. There's a punch that'll kind of punch that out, but I might open up my carb another day, but I figure keep things simple today. Just replace your jets, and then I can save that for another fun time. I got the tool here. I tend to buy the tools after I find out I need them. I'm too impatient to wait. But my guy, I mean, he sticks maybe sometimes. I've had him stick like once before. And what'll end up happening is this will get stuck. And then it'll run this little bowl out of gas. And you'll get not too far, run out of gas, the engine will die. I think I just opened it up, wiggled it, and put it back together, and then he was fine again. But more reason to change that guy. But if you're having carb problems, just clean this jet, clean that jet, take them out, get some wire, clean them out. Be careful with carb cleaner because it'll mess up your gaskets. This is the acceleration tube, or the acceleration pump. So when you give it throttle, this will actuate, pushing down into this hole. There's a little diaphragm in there, which will cause that to squirt out some gas. So sometimes that goes bad. The float can go bad, these gaskets, so be careful with carb cleaner. There's a way to get this guy out completely, and there's like a check valve in there. I did it before. So you get like a drill chuck. Go on here like you got a drill bit, and then you can wiggle them out. You can spin them 360 degrees. There's not too much to worry about from that perspective. Pour some of this, or get these stock jets out of here. It did look like I spilled some gas. I didn't have my little bowls. I'm not sure where I set those guys. So I figured I can do it on my new tool, which I probably won't use for a while. This is the valve tool there. But there's some gas in here. I'll get some water and kind of rinse that out. Okay, so now I've got larger jets, which are recommended for the big bore kit. So when you're putting this back together, this needs to go into there, which is pretty much what I'm concerned. And also you want this guy to go through that hole. Hopefully I can do this without getting my face in the shot. As much as you guys would like to see the back of my head, I try to avoid it. Okay, so now looking at the little Allen, I think it was this guy. And I'll get these guys back going. I still have my old gasket over here, but I think this one's a Cometic gasket as well. So that's actually a nice gasket. But he tends to stick to the carb more than he sticks to the throttle manifold, intake manifolds. So, you know, some people say put grease around there, but I haven't done that just yet. I just got to be careful putting them back on, that sort of thing. I'm not sure if I'll use the new gasket just yet, because, you know, the devil you know versus the devil you don't, I think is what they say, right? So I know how this guy behaves. Need to find my other two screws, but I guess I could start cleaning up here, and they will reveal themselves. They're under this guy. I don't know how that happens. Or maybe I wiggle things too much. Put it back. Get these screws on. And hopefully not spill gas on the table. It is plastic, but I got it in the bag now, as well as on the top of the tool cover. I have my old slide. I've actually replaced it with a CV Performance one prior to this. I figure anything rubber in the carb is probably due for replacement, if that makes sense. So I'll grab him from the box real quick. Get out of here. Oh. But this is what the slide looks like, and he's on the top side of the carb. Let me get this guy right side up. So the top side, he sits in there like that. And like I said, you can push this guy up, and the vacuum should let him slowly slide down. And on the front top side of the carb, there's little inlets. You can blow compressed air into there, and he'll come up by himself as a way to test it. But don't take off the top. If you do, there's a dowel under this one that goes with the throttle cable. So he'll fall out and say, where did he come from? It came from this guy. And again, these screws are easy to strip out, so be careful. But yeah, so there's pretty much this guy. The needle goes in here in the center. There's a little plastic spring retainer, and then the spring goes on the top of that plastic piece. It'll push up at the top center of this cap. So when you open this guy up, there'll be a spring that shoots out. But not too complicated in there. The hard part is getting this back in its little position. There's a little ridge in there. And once they get old, they stretch. But the secrets, I haven't tried it to confirm, is to get this guy, put him in the freezer, and the plastic will shrink. And that should make it easier to put back on. But I just bought a new one. It was easier to put on, and I figured this rubber is pretty old, but I kept it, you know, because you never know. Having extra parts is always helpful to have around. Okay, some bonus content. This is my CV Performance emulsion tube. You can see it still has a main jet on the top, but I get a screwdriver to get that out. So these are the larger jets that I purchased. And I mean, they ran okay. It's just when it was cold. Look at that 8mm. When it was cold, it was kind of hard to have low throttle. If you gave it low throttle, it kind of coughed some. Let's see if I can do this without it actually threaded into anything. But yeah, this guy just threads in at the top here, which is what we just did without taking them out. And at the bottom, okay, so there's the jet right there. This one's a CV Performance. I think it's 5 bigger than my stock. So this is a, if I could see, 175 jet, which is too small for a 1250. And this is the tube. This is an aftermarket one. The stock one, these little dots will be straight. But at the very bottom of here, it'll be a little silver piece that is in the carb. There's only one direction that goes up. I'm wanting to say the tapered direction goes up because the needle sits into here and it goes into this tube actually, and it lifts up as the vacuum increases. But at the top of here, there's a little piece of metal, so be cautious of that. It might be stuck in there. But you could take this guy out and clean him too. Just get some needles, be sure it goes all the way through, clean out these little holes on the side, but be cautious about the guy on the top. He only goes back in one way, and you don't want to drop it and not know which way goes in. Because if you do it backwards and put the tapered side down, it'll sandwich the taper and sandwich it out, and then you need a new piece because it'll be bent. But that's what the main jet threads into. I didn't want to open mine up because I didn't want to spill gasoline all over the place. But my best advice is don't open the top. Only stick to the bottom. Don't go crazy with carb cleaner. But you can take these guys out and soak it in vinegar and water overnight, and that'll kind of eat away any of the junk that collected, and get some wire and clean out the holes. But be cautious with the little metal thing over here so you know which way it goes back in. But yeah, so don't overdo it with the carb cleaner, and use vinegar. You can soak overnight, that sort of thing. Be sure you only have brass in there. Don't combine dissimilar metals or else you'll get rust. But yeah, so I figured I'd show you the emulsion tube there. I think I need to write a script. That way I don't repeat myself too much here. Okay. The manifold here. I want to attempt to get it on. So here's the flanges. They are marked front and rear. The gasket just sits with the tapered edge into there, and it fits against the block like that. And then these guys kind of sit in there. Okay, let's get these guys started. Should probably clean that surface a bit, but I figure I'll just make it worse in terms of sticking. So I'm going to set them on those two fellers and get something started on the front side. But that's assuming that I got those positioned right. Let's see here. So that's going to need to rotate up. Let me back this guy out a bit. Give me more room to get it situated. Make sure the backs look good. I got started. So I guess this side will be my next concern. You're kind of limited in terms of tightening these guys up. Okay, so I'm gonna test with the carb, I guess. Since this gasket tends to favor the carb side, I'll start them there. Okay, let's see here. Carb. Test fit. If I can. I'm just test fit this feller. The intake manifold's still pretty loose, so he should wiggle himself into position. And then I'll tighten him down. Last cover, after finally cleaning it. Okay, so just cover. I think it came out like this. So I'm gonna use that front first, and back over, something like that. Seems legit. I don't know how much I could see this back gasket, to be honest. So let's get him set better, Okay. Get these screws started. Above that, so I'll do this first. This guy getting started will be the hard part. Okay, so something like that. Something like that. So I'll do it like that. And I'll consult the video for the prior. So it must be a nut on the other side saying out as a stud. So that's probably why I'm missing a bolt. Because there wasn't one to begin with. So I'll consult my disassembly video to be sure I got my lock washer order correct. And I'll get the other guy started with the nut. Plugs in, got this guy. Comes up here. Light guy comes up there. Okay. It's here. Piece of junk. Go to your home. Don't you want to go to your home? I don't know. Water mount. Water mount. Kind of on the oil rags. Let's get these finger tight. See, it kind of got hot on that left cylinder intake side. This one back. Okay. So it's back together. The front motor mount has a washer, then a lock washer, then the bolts. I think the torque spec there is 25 to 30 foot-pounds. Let me double check that. Have it on my phone. But yeah, so pretty much anything going into the engine is 25, 30. Anything going to the frame is 30, 35 foot-pounds. On the other side, I could only get a wrench on it, so I couldn't really torque it down. I torqued down the fork tubes, or attempted to, but I was kind of hitting the side here. Let me try to get you closer. The side of the tube. I think if I got an extension, maybe I could get up to the narrower section and sort of get on it a little better there. The coil was a pain in the behind, and getting all these wires up under the tank sort of situated. Took 2 or 3 tries. I could probably, I don't like how I have the throttle cables routed right now. And I think it's loose up in the handlebar, so I'll have to open that up and fix it there. I think it's something with my handlebars. They don't have a very good hold on the little, I think they call them ferrules that sit on the end of the cable. But yeah, the carb was no problem. The thing that gave me trouble is the front motor mount, because I couldn't remember how it went. And the coil, because there's a lot of bolts and spacers and things over there. I put premium gasoline in it. You'll notice that it's kind of wet, and the tank was wet. I had my gas tank. It has this little rubber thing. It was solid as a rock, and I tried to bend it, but it just broke off, spilling gas on the tank. But no big deal. I got water and kind of soaked it down, put soap and water, and dried it off. But engine's a little wet because of that. I jacked it up and spun the tire, so the engine's moving fine. I set it down, put it in neutral, and let it spin with the starter just to circulate the oil a little bit. And that seemed okay. So now it has gasoline in it. I'm concerned about leaking gasoline and leaking oil for the most part, but I got to do a 10-second run, let it cool, 20-second, 30-second, 40-second. And I think I'll do that because I can do that with just idle. I don't need the throttle cables perfect for those sections, but I think it's going to be a lot of waiting for that for the most part. Get it hot, let it wait. And it might be loud. I was going to put in earplugs. So I'll go do that and then reconvene here in a second and then give it a shot. I'll give you the first start up. Hopefully I don't have too much trouble. Well, we'll see how things go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah, 10 seconds. I'll count that as 0 seconds. How about it? Okay, so now I need to let it cool. So I'll go entertain myself for an hour or so. Looks like we got some smoke. And then come back and do a 20-second. Stay tuned. Okay, so it's been about 40 minutes, which is probably overkill. I don't think it really got hot to begin with. I think I'll give it less choke this time because I feel like it gets the revs a little high. So let's turn the key on. 1, 2, up. Oh, fudge. I'll start. seconds, give or take. But yeah, I don't think it really gets hot. So I say let it cool to room temperature. That's got some smoke, but that's mainly from the exhaust side. The exhaust is definitely hot, so maybe I should tilt there. But yeah, let me turn off the gas again so it doesn't have a bubble. Full choke, half choke, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's it. Kill the fuel. Turn off the key. That's got a nice pop, pop, pop potato sound, but okie doke. 40-second heat cycle, and then that's about it. My timer. Half choke. Run. Started at 3, 2, 1. That's it. Yeah, so turn off the key, turn off the fuel. I'll have to do the 1 mile run, the 2 mile run, and the 50-mile low RPM break in when it warms up. But maybe put my timer cover back on. But yeah, things went well. You know, I think I'm more concerned about the carb and the fuel than the cylinders themselves. See you guys in the next one. Bye.